It's April 1945. The Third Reich is breathing its last, but the fanaticism hasn't faded. All across Germany, American military police, MP, and infantry squads are running checkpoints to screen retreating columns. Most German units are just looking for a way to surrender. But then there's the exception, the true believers. These are officers who still think the war can be won, or who are so blinded by their own ego that they believe they can simply drive through an American line. When they arrive at a checkpoint and are ordered to kill their engines and disarm, they don't comply. They reach for their holsters, they start shouting orders, and they refuse to stop. They expect a negotiation. They expect a debate. They are about to meet the American GY, who has zero patience for roadblocks, literal or figurative. Why would a German officer refuse to stop at a clearly marked Allied checkpoint? For the German officer, the road was a symbol of his military authority. In the Wehrmacht, if you were an officer in a staff car, the road belonged to you. You didn't stop for anyone. When they encountered an American MP, often a 20-year-old kid from a small town in Ohio, standing in the middle of the road with a white helmet and a whistle, the German officer saw an insult to his rank. He would often try to accelerate past the checkpoint or stand in his seat and demand the lower-class American soldier get out of his way. They were playing a game of military chicken, and they didn't realize that the American side wasn't playing by the rules of European social standing. The American response at these checkpoints was dictated by one rule: the road must remain open. If a German officer refused to turn off his engine or hand over his pistol, the American MP didn't call for a lawyer. He called for a .50 caliber machine gun. There are documented accounts of German staff cars attempting to muscle their way through American lines. The result was never a debate. A single warning shot, usually fired into the engine block of the Mercedes, was the only negotiation the American soldier offered. If the German officer didn't drop his weapon or get out of the vehicle within 3 seconds, the American squad moved from traffic control to combat engagement. They didn't just stop the car, they neutralized the threat. The German officer would go from demanding the right of way to being dragged out of his vehicle by his collar, stripped of his pistol, and thrown into the ditch in under 30 seconds. The most satisfying aspect of these incidents wasn't the violence, it was the psychological shattering of the German officer. He had expected to be treated as a diplomat or a captive general. Instead, he was treated like a traffic hazard. When these officers realized that their rank meant absolutely nothing to the GIs at the checkpoint, their fanatical front often collapsed. They weren't fighting a war anymore. They were just men in expensive clothes being told to shut up and get in the truck by a teenager in a muddy combat jacket. The American troops knew that every second spent arguing was a second that could be used to win the war. They didn't have time for the German officers' pride. They had a job to do. The checkpoint incidents of 1945 serve as a perfect metaphor for the end of the war. The German military was obsessed with their own importance, their own rules, and their own rigid hierarchies. The American army was obsessed with results. When the two met at the side of a muddy German road, there was no contest. The arrogance was cleared, the pride was disarmed, and the road to victory remained open.